Welcome to ET with GOTB at Euro 2025, day 10. Let's get into it. I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. We are back in the car park. We're back in the Wankdorf Stadium car park. Lovely car park. Not such a fan of the stadium, personally. But we are coming to you from a very echoey. So I'm going to try not to speak too loud because I know you guys love to tell us when things are too echoey. We didn't bring our duvets today.
Oh, so, I think I did suggest we make a fort.
We might make a fort. That's an option on the tournament. We'll see how mad it gets, but we might commit to a fort with some cushions and some
forts are brilliant.
Duvets.
You remember forts when you were a child?
Anyway, we had another 9 p.m. kickoff. They're all 9 p.m. kickoffs now, so it's a late one. Sophie, you had a lovely birthday present from UEFA today. Would you like to tell the listeners what happened?
I left my accreditation in Zurich, and I was on the way back to Zurich when Rachel called me and said, the lovely people inside the stadium said, you can come back. You can get your accreditation basically invalidated and then reprinted. So I came back, trotted along to the accreditation centre, managed to persuade them to do it, and then was told that they would only do it if I made an €150 donation to the UEFA Foundation. So that was my happy birthday to me from UEFA.
And they did actually note that it would have been her birthday the day before, so that was nice. They are definitely Spanish fans. I think it really grated being told it was a donation because it was basically a fine that UEFA had chosen to donate to the foundation.
Yeah, so for me, like, hands up, I'd pay a fine. I think it was just the donation that made me laugh. I actually laughed because donation implies a willingness to give, and not that I'm not willing to give.
€150.
I don't like to be forced to be willing to give.
No, and I don't think UEFA needs money. They could spend the money they have. Anyway, we digress. That's what happened to Sophie today after we had a lovely trip around Bern, which is very pretty. Shocker. Day 10. This is the third set of games for Group B, Spain, Belgium, Italy and Portugal. And we were at the Spain-Italy game in the Wankdorf Stadium, which today...
You just like saying that.
I really don't. I switched ends today. If you remember, it smelled like hot garbage down the other end. So today I had the smell of weed and cigarette smoke for the whole time. That stadium really stinks of cigarette smoke. Yeah, I suppose. I'll take the weed smell, less so the smoky smell. Anyway, God, the Spanish fans are having a party, lads. I hope you're not picking up too much of this sound. Anyway, Spain are through, Belgium are out, and second place was all to play for, essentially, although it was going to take a lot for Portugal, but there is still hope. And all games were at 9 p.m. So
yeah, Portugal needed
a swing.
Italy to lose, them to win, and it needed to be a 6-goal swing. So it was quite a lot. To wait for.
Our game ended 3-1 to Spain. Oliviero, Del Castillo, Guiaro and Gonzalez scoring the goals there. 7 changes were made for Spain. Putellas, Guiaro, Nonclares and Caldente remained from the previous fixture. Italy with 3 changes. Girelli replaced by Piemonte, which was quite a key one. Really quite a good start from Italy, actually. They looked comfortable enough dealing with Spain, like they weren't kind of panicking. Do you know what I mean? That's what it felt like. And I thought they were creating chances.
Yeah, they, especially in the first half, I think they had chances themselves. They were finding their wingers pretty well. I think Cantori was having particular joy down the right side. I think they lost a lot of steam in that second half, but
we'll get there. We want to give them some praise for the opening 20. Come on.
But for the first half, I think they were pretty much on top, despite conceding within 4 minutes of taking the lead.
Yeah.
You just need to be a bit more mature and sensible in these circumstances.
Been a bit of a theme in games. It's almost less about the other team conceding and more about when Spain concede, they go, well, screw you. Now you've pissed us off. We're going to go straight down the other end and score. Yeah, it's like you anger them.
No, but I think it is like that. We see it again and again in football where a team scores and then they are a bit nervous and it goes a bit on edge, even if they're ahead for a bit and they're a bit more stretched than they're used to being. I think Italy were pretty stretched for large portions of the night as well, but they were hitting the counter-attack pretty well and they just needed to be more composed on the ball.
Yeah,
in the first half, they were just losing possession. They were winning the ball back, cutting out the Spanish attack, but then their pass forward would be inaccurate because they were just rushing it all too fast.
So it felt like the opening 15 minutes or so, I thought Italy were doing well. They hit the woodwork before they scored the goal, and then they scored the goal. So, they seemed relatively comfortable. And then Spain got a goal back, and that's when they seemed to, the wheels kind of came off a very fast-moving cart almost a little bit. The kind of way they were almost running too quickly for themselves. They were just a little bit frantic at times.
Yeah, they were just not like, they just needed to take a moment on the ball. Instead, they were like, oh, we've got the ball, let's send it forward, rather than actually thinking about how to build going forward. And I think that happened all too often. But I do think they had real joy, as I said, down that right side. I think they were being direct with... I think the reason why Piemonte started was because she is a direct runner, and Cristiana Girelli is a goal scorer, but she's maybe got different attributes in that respect. And Piemonte is a bit stronger, a bit, more uses her body to win the ball back. She wasn't holding the ball up particularly well, though. So.
No, but she did have a chance, which initially on first reflection, we thought, oh my God, I can't believe she's put that wide. But actually, offside in the build-up, just right. But that was one of those moments where you're like, oh, that could have swung the game, but it was offside.
And then they also had a
handball.
Shout.
Wasn't that what they were? It was
the handball, yeah. But then Cantore was offside in the build-up, so there were like narrow margins of things happening
in the opening half. And I think this has been a bit of a theme with teams who've tried to play against Spain's style, as in play that defensive counter-attacking style, is they don't kind of have the physicality to sustain that for 90 minutes.
Yeah,
I think.
So if you looked at it, I think it was the first half, or maybe first 50 minutes when I looked at the stats, Italy were winning the duels. They'd won 100% of their aerial duels. They were up on their ground duels. They were winning. They were up on duels won. But then Spain were just passing. The difference in passing stats between the two. I think at that point in time,
700 to 200 or something.
Well, at the end, but at that point in time, it was like 479 to 110 or something. Like they were literally being passed into submission a little bit.
And I think Diarra got the goal at a crucial time as well in the second half, early on in the second half.
It came just after a couple of Italian chances. So Italy started the second half strongly as well. They had a big chance that they didn't put away. And then within 2 minutes, Spain were ahead.
But that Gallardo goal came from Del Castillo just running directly at the defence and them just running backwards and backwards and backwards and giving her so much time and space.
Like, it's hard to stop Spanish players, don't get me wrong. But sometimes you just need to kick them a little bit.
No,
I don't mean that
like,
in a bad way.
But put in a tackle.
Put in a tackle. Like, you just need to get stuck in and to let... I don't really care who the player is, but to let anyone run from the left like that and dribble their way into the box, hold it up and then not get the clearance on the ball when she loses it, and literally just pass that straight out to Guiaro. Like, it's just...
This is the thing, and I think that was what I found frustrating, because when you do that defensively, you're putting yourself in a situation then that when you do go and make a tackle, you're in the box and you've got a very high chance of conceding a penalty. So, I found that was a real example of, like, at one point I was shooting, obviously, and I saw an Italian player just turn and face my direction and just run backwards with Spain coming towards me with the ball. And I'm like, what are you doing with your back? It's like you've just decided, I'll tackle them back here rather than like actually approach them up front. And that I found that quite annoying, because then the press is invalidated if you've got players who are not willing to actually compete in it and they're just turning around coming the other direction. So that was frustrating.
I think I messaged you in the second half, and Italy's midfield lack defensive qualities. They're very, very good players, but in Cantore and Giuliano, you have two players who are more comfortable on the ball and being creative.
Don't have the physicality.
And they don't have the physicality. And I don't want to keep bringing it back to England's win over Spain, but that's the only benchmark I have since the Germany...
Well, Spain very, very, very rarely lose.
It's the only benchmark that we have that wherever Spain lost. But in that game, you had Clinton, Walsh and Toon working so hard to stop the midfield having any space, and they were getting stuck in. Yes, they were giving away fouls like every so often, but they were just making their mark on those players. And there were points in the second half where Alexia, Aitana and Patrick were just allowed to run basically to the top of the box.
That's what I found
there wasn't
frustrating.
being put a challenge in, and that's the problem.
I was trying to think of a way to get something Italian kind of into my description of the game, and what I found was that, like, as the second half went on, Spain were just turning Italy into spaghetti legs. Like, they were just kind of passing the ball in and out. They were kind of didn't know which way to go, turn left, turn right. Like, they were running ragged around them. It's so wonderful to see Alexia Putellas playing at her flourishing best again. And I said it to one of the other journalists. I was like, is she actually better than she was? Which, like, you didn't even think was possible. But
she's having a super, what is that, 4 assists now, 3 goals?
Something like, it's so wonderful just to see a player like that come back from such a terrible injury to peak. And yeah, she's having a superb tournament. Vicky Lopez, again, always blows my mind how confident and fearless, and how fearless she is running at players. I just thought was incredible. And then Gonzalez, of course, I mean, what a weapon to bring on near the end for Italy.
Although, and she was, I don't know what the goalkeeper was doing, because she just completely
No, I know, but that ball into her, that target player, was just another weapon, another way that Spain could attack that Italy had to deal with.
But
so
I think that for that final goal, Giuliani will look at herself and go, I should have done better.
Anyway, main thing is both teams are through after all that. There was jubilant celebrations even though Italy lost, which is quite nice to see. And they are both through to the quarterfinals, which we will get to, because Portugal ended and Belgium ended. Portugal 1, Belgium 2. Bollard, hold on, I was going to get this one right because I was practicing. Encarntheo. No, I don't even know if I got that right, but I'm trying. And Cayman with the goals. Got fierce loud in here, didn't it? It's weird because we picked like a really empty part of the car park and the party seems to have come down here. I think because it's so echoey, it makes it sound even louder. Anyway.
There seems to be one car in this section of the car park.
Yeah, and there's like
where they're going.
A party getting into it. Here we go. There's a whole pair of them. Look, strolling down. Stomp, stomp. Anyway, the hopes were faint for Portugal, to be fair. And it all went wrong for them, like very early on. They conceded in the 3rd minute, Woolart getting the goal there. By halftime, I think they maybe would have been a little bit frustrated not to have gotten an equaliser, because in terms of the stats at halftime, they were dominating those stats. Not dominating, they weren't edging, they were somewhere in between, but they were ahead in those stats. Belgium had a 0.37 XG at halftime, which was surprising. But it's always a hard game coming up against a team that are already out, because you don't really know what you're going to get with them. Are they going to roll over, or are they going to put up like a serious fight and want to get...
Yeah, and I think we've seen with the two so far, they've been already out. Iceland put up a fight last night against Norway. I think you can get a bit complacent sometimes because they still want to prove. I mean, they're disappointed as hell, but they still want to prove what they can do on the stage. And even if it's scoring a first goal of a tournament or whatever it might be, it wasn't their first goal of a tournament.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They will want to make their mark and show that they didn't just come here for nothing, essentially.
They had 2 opportunities, Portugal, either side of the half, which they will absolutely be ruining. And look, even if they'd scored them, it still wouldn't be 6-0, but it might have kind of turned the game on its head a little bit, opened them up a little bit. I think it was always going to be difficult to score that many against Belgium. But I do think they were lucky. Their hopes would have stayed alive for a little while longer. They got an equaliser in the 87th minute, but they'd had a second Belgium goal scored by Taloba, who I'm a big fan of, ruled offside. Then Taloba hit the crossbar with a header. And so it really, it could have gotten much worse for Portugal. They then got the goal in the 87th minute. And then Belgium, it seems like the last 5 minutes was just chaos, right? Because Portugal got the goal. Then Belgium had another goal ruled out. Tiziak had a goal ruled out for offside after a VAR check. And then a goal was scored by Cayman, right at the death. So they ended up winning it 2-1. Portugal out of the competition, Belgium out of the competition. And I think we all maybe expected more from from Portugal, but I'm wondering, should we have expected more from Portugal?
No, I didn't expect more from Portugal. I think you look at their form. I think everyone thinks about the start of the Nations League where they drew 1-1 with England and then beat Belgium as a marker. And I think when you look at the form...
Wow, that's a big engine in that car. Look at them go.
It's a minivan of Spanish.
It's a minivan.
But yeah, when you look at the kind of form since that second game, it's been utterly shambolic, to be perfectly honest with you. And yes, they got that goal, that emotional goal against Italy, but really they've done not much to show that they are are really at the level they need to be in this competition. It's such a shame because when you think about 2022 and the impact that they made on that competition, even though they didn't get through, they were like the surprise team. They were like the surprise package.
I think it does make me question Neto's tactics sometimes. I think they're a little bit naive sometimes. He's been in the job an awful long time, and I just wonder what Portuguese football are going to think now, whether it's a case of changing things up or of accepting that this is where they are.
I mean, we've been contacted, like when we did the Portugal game, by a few Portuguese fans and saying finally they're seeing how bad we are, essentially. And I do think there is some truth to that. I don't think you can look at, the last 3 games and the 5 before that where they conceded 27 goals
or something, yeah.
At this point, definitely into the high 20s in terms of goals conceded, and think that's acceptable for a nation who really wants to start competing within the elite of football.
Yeah, definitely one to watch after this tournament, I think. It does mean that Spain will face hosts Switzerland. Jubilant celebrations yesterday. We were catching up on them this morning and it was lovely to see. And Italy will face Norway in the quarterfinals. So some very tasty fixtures. Tomorrow,
Italy have a real chance now.
Well, they do?
Well, Norway have a real chance too, but I do think Italy can take Norway.
We will be heading to Germany versus Sweden in Zurich tomorrow, so a home game for us. Both Sweden and Germany are already through, but this is about who comes top of the group, which is of course going to impact your route and how far you could potentially go. The other game, Denmark versus Poland, is also being played at 9 o'clock, but that is a dead rubber as it's already been decided. But will Poland get their first goal of the tournament? They might just do, fingers crossed. I'm very much looking forward to chatting through all of that with you guys tomorrow. Good night.